Right then, welcome back to the channel. Back in Switzerland, and I'll probably be back here for a review after the Villa game on Sunday as well. I want to talk today a little bit about some post-final developments in terms of transfers and where does that leave us now. So we are going to have about an £80 million shortfall by not qualifying for the Champions League because of the UEFA TV money. That's going to put the club's losses for the last 3 years in excess of 300 million, which is going to break the PSR regulations for the club, which means sales are going to have to happen, or sponsorships are going to have to come in, or something along those lines where United can put some revenue against what's going to be happening. Now, that will have an implication in terms of our transfer window this summer. And I know there's all sort of weird accounting things where you can put academy sales down as profit instantly and all that sort of stuff. So I do expect some shadow games in terms of how United actually account for what's about to happen. But the top and bottom line is we are skint. Not being in the Champions League next season has got massive financial implications for us. And that's the top and bottom of it, really. So what does that mean in terms of the transfers then? So from what I can see going around, there's like 3 transfers that United are currently working on. It's 3 attacking players, 3 quite different players, but theoretically they could all be for one position. Now, I don't think they are. I think we're going to go for 2 of this 3. I actually don't know which 2 of the 3. You can make a case for any of the 2. I think Cunha's probably locked in, so that probably means one of the others instead of both of the others. But Cunha, it seems like Cunha is all but done. Looking at around 62.5 to 65 million pounds. We know what he's about. Despite the lack of European football, Cunha is supposedly still keen on the move, and the deal is expected to be finalised soon. That's a great one for us to get over the line and just lock it in and then move on with our lives. That's a really good signing. It doesn't feel like anything is positive at the club at the moment, but that is a really good signing and for really decent money. Now, I will get on to... Yeah, I'll do it at the end because there's implications for this and it makes sense why. But £65 million is going to represent a hefty chunk of what we've actually got to spend this summer because of what happened on Wednesday night. Now, Liam Delap. The pursuit of Delap, supposedly in the region of 30 million, is supposedly in jeopardy because of Champions League qualification, which is hilarious because I'm still not 100% certain that the kid's even good enough to be our number 9. I like him. I think he's a slight upgrade on Rasmus Højlund, but I'm not sitting here going, get the guy in, there's 22 goals a season, nailed on, that's exactly what we need. I go, yeah, good player, bit of a prospect, Premier League proven. I'd be happy with signing him. But as I said the other day, I think it'd be a lot more prudent if we brought in him and like a Jonathan David on a free transfer. That, to me, would be a decent one if Jonathan David can be convinced to come to a team not playing European football next year. 30 million pretty much takes us up to the maximum that I think the club's going to go and spend in terms of outlays. The issue is, and it's an issue that I tend to agree with, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you lot agree with as well, is that Delap just is not a seasoned striker, and the talk is that Ruben Amorim and Jason Wilcox are a little bit at heads because Amorim would prefer someone with a bit more experience about him. Now, that kind of does go against the Ineos sort of model of signing, so we're going to have to see what comes out of this. Which brings me to the third one that we're linked with, Jean-Philippe Mateta. Now, I like Mateta. I think he's a real handful. And supposedly he wants to play at the World Cup next year, so he wants to go somewhere that'll be respected enough where he can maybe get a call up for the France team ahead of the World Cup in, well, I was going to say in America, but it's in the whole of North America, isn't it? And United are supposedly in the race to sign him. So when I say I think United will get one of 2, I think that could be how we get one of 2. I don't think you're getting Delap and Mateta. Now, if I had to choose which one I would go for, I think I'd go with Mateta. I do. I think I'd go Mateta and Cunha, and I think you've actually very much transformed that forward line. And I think having the likes of Ahmad as the starter alongside, I think makes a very good, at least first 11 starting lineup. The depth beyond that, will you be looking at Xerxes and then don't know. That being said, the likes of Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Antony and Garnacho haven't been sold yet. So there's options here that could see them sticking around. Now, on the sales front, I spoke earlier about Garnacho coming out and saying what he said. I haven't liked his attitude on and off the pitch for a long time. I think he's a bell. I think he's immature, and I can't believe some of the shit that some of our players have had with no evidence, just pure rumours, when this guy's out here giving you the evidence and never gets called out on it at all. Got a lot of fanboys that I don't understand. Genuinely, I do not understand. That being said, there was rumours going into the game about him being sold. Maybe that was his decision making in terms of like, I'm going to say what I want to say because I'm going anyway. But I wouldn't be crying if we sold him. It would probably be for a decent amount of money. It is pure profit because he's an academy player. I would move him on. You know my thoughts on that. Bruno Fernandes. Now, this is going to get spun a million different ways. That quote the other night. It felt like, I guess you can read it both ways. The quote following the game, definitely I think it could be read as in a goodbye and I don't want to go but they want to sell me, or it could be an I don't want to go full stop. I think you can read it both ways, to be honest with you. So the club thinks it's time to part ways because they want to do some cash in or whatever. It is what it is. Football is like that sometimes. And he is right, yeah, football is like that sometimes. It is the reality of what football is like at times. So, would I want to see Bruno sold? Honestly, he's been the best thing, pretty much the best thing about this season. I think Lenny Yoro's had a good season. Ahmad has shown us what he's about. We've got some things to cling on to there for the future. And it'd be a sad time for him to go without winning the league at the club when he's been as unbelievably good as he has been for the club. But maybe if someone does come in with 100 million, because of the financial considerations that the club is in, the club has to act. I can't imagine that we're better. I can't imagine that he fits in with Ruben Amorim's system. As we've seen, he ain't the perfect 6 and he ain't a number 10 in this system. I don't want to call them wingers, but they're not number 10s either. They need to be called something else. But he is a number 10 that operates behind a striker with wingers at the same time. Like, he operates in that pocket, and that pocket doesn't exist in this team. So he's kind of shoehorned in elsewhere. Now, what's mad is that he's not had a natural fitting position, but he's been incredible. Final aside, he was shit in the final, but he's been actually genuinely incredible. So I don't know. If Al Hilal come back in with like an absolute barn-burning bid, I think you shake his hand and say cheers. Rasmus Højlund, honestly, the worst striker I've ever seen at Manchester United. Supposedly there's Juventus and Atalanta that are interested in him. If United can recoup anything for him, I volunteer to drive him there myself. And Antony, I can't believe how well he's done at Betis, to be honest with you. I think he stays in Spain, probably with Betis. And then you've still got the likes of Rashford and Sancho, and there's talk about Mainu going. And I tell you what, this summer, I don't think we'll be short of news. There's going to be a lot to talk about this summer every single day, I think. And then, like I said, the final piece that I was going to talk about, I've just wiped it. 1 sec, let me find it again. The final piece that I wanted to talk about was in terms of what Ineos are going to be thinking we can spend, which is, so despite the loss, Ruben Amorim supposedly, this is according to The Guardian, several of us have seen Ducker going on it, He still retains the backing of the United board. The club is committed to supporting him in the transfer window with a budget of 100 million. Now, that doesn't say if that's inclusive of sales or exclusive of sales or what. It's 100 million. So like when I said, you know, you're going to look at those two, Cunha, or maybe it's 100 million plus sales, because that might make sense. 100 million, you get Cunha in, you get a Mateta in maybe. That's the best part of 100 million, if not 100 million gone. And then you got to sell Rashford or Garnacho or Højlund or whoever, and maybe Bruno before you start bringing in others, because, you know, arguably we need a right wing back if you're going to play Ahmad in that sort of right forward role. You're probably going to need a defender. You're probably, you know, I think you're probably going to need at least another midfielder. So it's going to be an iffy one, but I certainly don't think we'll be short of news. Let me know, who would you sell? And is 100 million anywhere near enough for us to do any damage? Because I'm not sure it is, to be honest with you. Even with just concentrating on the Premier League, you're going to have to get a hell of a lot right, which is going to be very hard work.